Lesson 12.6, Permutations and Combinations. Essential question for this lesson is how can you determine to use permutation or combination in a situation? So we are going to look into the definitions of permutation and combination, and then we're going to see the rules that we have to apply for using those things. First, a permutation is an arrangement where your order is going to be very important. It basically means that you're going to ensure that certain things are going to come in a certain order. You're not going to mix things up. Okay, so let's say we have 5 letters to create a word, and in this case I have W-A-T-E-R to create water. Now, I am going to see how many different options are possible for me to arrange these 5 letters and come up with a word. Now, it doesn't matter if I'm going to make a word that actually makes sense, but it's just going to be a different combinations of the letter to find out, hey, how many options are there for me to create a word with these 5 letters. In order to work on this, I am going to put 5 blanks that indicates whichever letter comes first, second, third, fourth, and last. For my first option, when you're looking into these 5 letters, you are going to have 5 different options, W-A-T-E-R, that you can choose from. Now, if I choose a letter, I don't know which one is going to be, but let's say I chose a letter, then I am going to have 4 options for my second letter choice. And then, as you can imagine, for my third option, I'm going to have 3 choices and then 2 choices, and then my last one, I really don't have any choices. It's just going to be whatever that's left over. So what I'm going to do is really multiplying all of these numbers as using the counting principle and multiply to find out, hey, how many total options I'm going to have when I have 5 letters to mix it up, but with a certain order. If I use something for the first letter, I can't use something for the second. If I use something for the first 2, I only have 3 that's left over, and so forth. So when I multiply these numbers, 5 times 4 is 20, 20 times 3 is 60, 60 times 2 is going to be 120. So my final answer is 120, and that's the number of options that I'm going to have. Now there's a certain way to write this permutation, and I'm going to go ahead and do an example to show you that. Let's say you are going to have a team of 6 track members, and you're going to have 3 members line up for a relay race. Relay race means you're going to have your members run in an order from the first, second to third person. So how I'm going to write this in permutation is going to be this. So I'm going to have a permutation. I'm going to have a total number of members on the left side, and then I'm going to have a number of the people that you're going to choose on the right side. And then what I'm going to do after is to have the number of people that you're going to choose, which is going to be 3 members for the relay race, and then you're going to multiply these 3 numbers. What you're going to do for each of these blanks is that for this one, first blank, you're going to have options of 6 members to choose from. So you're going to have 6 members available to choose from for your first option. And then after you choose the first member, you can have 5 members to choose from your second option. And then again, for the third option, you're going to have 4 members available to choose from the whole list. So then you're going to multiply 6 times 5 times 4 and find out 6 times 5 is 30, 30 times 4 is 120. So again, that means you are going to have 120 different ways to put your members in a different order to run for the race. If you notice, your total number here is going to be the number that you start with for your first option, and 3 on the right side here indicates how many blank spaces that you're going to provide in order for you to find out the answer. So let's go ahead and try these two questions. You can go ahead and pause the video whenever you're ready to work on your own, or you can go ahead and just watch the video to get some ideas on how to work on it. So we know that based on what we have learned, this is 5 permutation 3, and 5 indicates the total number of your options, and then 3 indicates that that's the number of things that you have to choose. So I'm going to go ahead and put an equation mark, and I'm going to put 3 slots here because I know I have to choose 3 different members or option or choices. And then because I have 5 total options possible, I'm going to start my first number as 5, and then 4, and 3 as follows. And then my answer then is going to be 120. Like I said, you can always go ahead and pause this video to try and see if you get this right. For number 2, 9 permutation 2. So I have total of 9 options, and I just have to pick 2 different scenarios to go with. So I'm going to have 2 slots open, and I'm going to multiply them. And because I have 9 total options, I am going to start with 9. I have 9 options for my first choice. And then for my second choice, I am going to have 8 options, which is going to be 72 options in total. Now, counting combinations are going to be similar, but you have an extra step that you need to be careful with. So let's go ahead and take a look at the definition first. So what is a combination? A combination is an arrangement in which the order of these things really does not matter. So, for example, if you're picking something, you don't have to really worry about who is being picked first or what is being picked first. You just have to pick the number of items that you are told to do. Let's say you have to write a report on 2 different countries, and you're going to have 6 different options. Let's say I have these 6 different countries to write reports on, and you have to just pick 2 different countries. It doesn't matter which one you pick first. So let's go ahead and take a look and find out the options that we can have. For example, for Canada, I can match it up with India, US, France, Ethiopia, and Korea. I'm just going to write these initials. How about for India? Because I already had Canada and India paired up, I just have to find out India and US, India and France, India and Ethiopia, India and Korea, and so forth. So as I go down the list, I'm going to have 1 less option per each because I'm already using those in the previous options. So just like this, US is then going to have options for US and France, US and Ethiopia, US and Korea. And then for France, you're going to have less options, which are going to be France and Ethiopia and France and Korea. For Ethiopia and Korea, you're going to see less information as well, and you're going to only see Ethiopia with Korea. Now, because all these countries are covered already, for Korea, you're not going to have any other things that you're going to have to match up with because Korea is already matched up with Canada, India, US, France, and Ethiopia. I'm going to go ahead and count the number of possible outcomes. So I have 5 options here, 4 options here, which is 9. I have 3 more, which is 12. I have 2 more, 14. I have 1 more, so total 15. I have 15 different combinations that I can have for picking 2 countries that I have. Now, like I said, all these areas are blank because I already used one of these countries each, so I don't have to repeat that again. If you're writing this as an equation, this is how it's going to look like. Just like permutation, you're going to start with a capital, which is C, combination, and you're going to have 6 options for your event. And then you're going to write a number here because you're going to choose 2 countries to work on your projects. You put 2 on the right side. Now, for combination, you're going to actually have 2 different permutations, top and bottom, and it's going to be a fraction. And it's going to be a permutation first of your total and a chosen one over how many chosen one you have for the bottom 2. The reason why we're doing this is so that you can get rid of any possible answers that may overlap. So you're trying to get rid of the overlapping letters so that you are not going to count any possible overlaps in this case. Now, we didn't write down any overlapping letters. We just kind of eliminated as a whole. But if you were to write every single information in there, for example, okay, so I wrote down all the possibilities for all the countries with a red. But if you think about it, a lot of these numbers or a lot of these combinations are going to be overlapping. For example, CI and IC, they're the same thing. So I don't really need to keep the IC part. Because I have CU and UC, same thing, I don't have to keep the UC. Same thing with IU and UI. I don't have to keep both of them, so I get rid of these. So if I do that, I am eventually going to get rid of all the numbers that are going to be overlapping. So to make it simple, we just follow the rules. And what you do is this. You have 6 times 5. You have 30 different options. However, you are going to get rid of anything that you are going to overlap. Because you have 2 different options, you're going to have 2 overlapping things that can possibly happen. And then what you do is you simplify this answer. You're going to have 30 over 2, which is 15. So this is how you're going to work on it. You're going to work on the top with permutation. That's your total possible answers. And because you're picking 2, you're going to have some overlapping. So you're going to get rid of the overlapping parts on the bottom. And then you're going to left with 15 if you go ahead and work on the questions. I know this is going to be a little confusing for you guys, so let's go ahead and take a look at some practice questions. Again, you can pause the video whenever you need to and check your answers after you work on them. So first, I am going to go ahead and set up the equation as 2 of the p's, 2 permutations, and I'm going to have 8 over 2 on my top, so I'm going to use the same numbers that appears for my combination. And then because I'm going to choose 2 different options, I'm going to put 2's on the bottom on each side for the permutation. And then I'm going to go ahead and put 2 numbers that are going to start with 8 and then 7 over 2 times 1 because it's going to be 2 options. I have 2 slots to pick. If you like to go ahead and simplify the numbers before you multiply, that is okay, which I prefer, but if you want to go ahead and multiply the numbers first and then divide it all together, that's also possible. So I'm going to just go ahead and simplify it here like this, and I'm going to be left with 4 times 7, which is 28. So I have 28 different possibilities of choosing 2 different things from 8 different possibilities. My second one is going to be 7 combination 3. So again, I'm going to set up the equation with 2 p's, 2 permutations on the top and the bottom. And I'm going to have 7 permutation 3 on the top, and then 3 over 3 and 3 on each side of the p. My top numbers are going to be 7 times 6 times 5, because that's the number of permutation you're going to have. And then you're going to put 3 times 2 times 1 because you're going to have 3 and 3 permutation 3. So you're going to have an equation like this. And then before you multiply, like I said, you can simplify, or you can just multiply everything and simplify at the end, either way you prefer. I like doing it beforehand, so I'm going to do 3, 1, and 2, and then I also have 2 here, so another one for 2 and 2. So I'm going to have 1 on the bottom, so I don't have to worry about it, and I have 5 times 7, which is going to be 35 for my answer. Your homework for today is going to be from the textbook, page 670, 12 to 30 even. Some of these numbers are going to give you a huge answer, so I don't mind if you use a calculator to find the final answer, but I do want you to put the work like this and show me the simplification, and then if you have the big numbers still, you can go ahead and multiply to find out the answer. And for today, to indicate that you watched the video, let's go ahead and draw cherries next to your name. Okay,